This is Support is Sexy, episode 390, with Kathryn Finney, founder of Digital Undivided, and Noelle Adams, founder of the Culpability App, talking about the Big Incubator. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I bring you inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and lessons to help you take your business to the next level. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm excited to have you here. It just would not be the same without you. And if you are a woman entrepreneur or creative and you want to get your message out there more, you want to know about being on podcasts yourself, maybe you're ready to be a guest, you've been thinking about it, or you're ready to do it, I want you to download my free gift at girlonpodcastgift.com. It's a free guide, actually, that tells you how to be an unforgettable podcast guest. If you're going to be on shows, you want to make sure that people remember you for the right reasons. So go check it out for free. Download the guide, girlonpodcastgift.com. Now, today I am super extra excited about our guest, Kathryn Finney, because Kathryn is our first guest to come back for a second time. She was actually on episode 77 on October 18th, 2016. So make sure you go back and listen to that. But can you imagine that she was episode 77 and this is episode 390 just a couple of years later, not even a full 2 years? Very excited about that. Very excited that she's back. Kathryn is the founder and CEO of Digital Undivided, which is a company that is really about advocacy, research, and education around empowering women of color in technology. And today she brought with her Noelle Adams, who is founder of the Culpability App, a new app that she's developing in the Big Incubator. And the Big Incubator, which is something you'll hear us talk about all throughout this episode. So if you're a woman in technology, Black or Latinx woman, I want you to apply for the Big Incubator. Don't think about it. As Kathryn said, go to digitalundivided.com and sign up. But the Big Incubator is a year-long incubator program for founders who have an idea or who already have a business. You'll hear a lot more about it, but that's what Kathryn came here to talk about because the deadline for applications is January 19th, 2018. So if you're listening to this before then, you still have time. The deadline is Friday, January 19th, 2018. It's a simple application at digitalundivided.com. But in this episode, you'll get to hear Kathryn and Noelle talk about the program, what it's like. Noelle will talk about her experiences. Kathryn will talk about also why she's passionate about supporting Black and Latinx women, especially in technology. Some of the reasons that organizations like this are so needed is because only 0.2% of Black women founders receive investments from VCs in their technology company. 0.2. And if you're wondering, yes, that's less than 1%. So it may as well be zero. That amounts to about $36,000. Whereas failed startups founded by white men receive $1.3 million on average. Failed startups by white men. So there's clearly a disparity there, right? With women in technology, women of color in technology, Kathryn and her team are working hard to change that and to let you know why investment might not be the thing that you need for your business, but guidance, education, development, all of that support, Digital Undivided gives you in the Big Incubator. So as you can see, I am passionate about making sure, hey, this is an opportunity. Support is sexy, right? This is an opportunity for you to get support if you're a technology person, or even if you're not a technology person, which you'll hear Noelle talk about. This is your opportunity to get support, go to the event, find out more about it, get to talk to Kathryn and the team, and see what kind of support you can receive. All right, so now I want you to hear Kathryn and Noelle talk about it, and then I want you to make sure you go to digitalundivided.com so you can sign up for the Big Incubator. Without further ado, here's Kathryn and Noelle. So Kathryn and Noelle, thank you both so much for joining me for Support is Sexy today. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here as well. Ditto that. I'm very excited.
Excellent. Thank you both. Now, Kathryn, you're the founder and CEO of Digital Undivided, and you've been on the podcast before. You're my first repeat guest after 300 something episodes. I'm so excited.
Oh my God.
Yes.
A lot of
I've been busy, girl, since we last talked. Like, this will be episode, I don't know. This might be episode, maybe I'll do 400. We'll see. Anyway, it's over 300 and something episodes. I'm excited to have you back.
Oh, I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Now, as I mentioned, you're the CEO of Digital Undivided, and tell our audience, I already know, but tell our audience what Digital Undivided is and how it's changing the game really for women in tech.
Well, Digital Undivided, we're a social enterprise that really focuses on women owning their work through entrepreneurship and innovation. And so we do it in sort of three key ways. We are really data driven. So we have our Project Diane, which is our data initiative that looks at women of color, entrepreneurship, and innovation. We have a new updated report that's coming out this summer, which is going to be pretty amazing. We have our Big Incubator that Noelle was a part of. She was one of our top founders. That is a 26-week incubator program for Black and Latina women who are high potential, who have the ability to create high-scale, high-growth companies. And then in general, we have events, which we're going to be doing a lot more of this year, that really just help empower Black and Latina women in general, and to show that we can build companies. We can build successful companies. We can scale successful companies. And so that's a little bit about what we do.
Just a little bit. And why does that? Why do you think that myth exists that Black and Latinx women can't build companies or can't be, especially in the technology space?
Because tech is marketed as a certain people. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you think of how it is marketed down to the TV shows. I mean, you look at the TV show Silicon Valley, you would be hard pressed to find one Black woman even as an extra in that show.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just started watching that show because I heard someone talking about it on another pod. I think James Altucher might be one of the creators, and I heard it on his podcast. And I promise you, I just thought that the other night, like, wow, there are no people of color really on this show. There are people of color, like you said, no Black women or any other women mainly who are technology founders. And then there's a Chinese character on the show, and to me, the character is so what people might think stereotypical of what people say Chinese people are like. Yes. He doesn't speak. It makes me cringe every time. I actually think I might stop watching it because of that. In any case, very, very important to note that, as you said, even in television, even in creative spaces, technology is portrayed as for a specific type of people.
Yes. No, I mean, it really, really is. And you know, actually in the first season of that show, Silicon Valley, the only Black woman character was a stripper.
Yes, yep.
She was a stripper / prostitute who slept with one of these geeky guys. And I'm like, that would never happen. That is pure fantasy. That is purely your fantasy. And so what we do at Digital Undivided, particularly at the Big Incubator, is to change that. We know we can build companies. Noelle is the perfect example of someone who can build a company and reach a success and continue on. And we are actually in the middle of the applications for our next cohort, and it's going really well. We have about a week and a half left of the application process, and we've already exceeded the applications that we had last year. So we've already passed what we had last year, and this year we think we're going to have pretty significant increase in applications. So we're really, really excited about sort of what's on the horizon for our third cohort.
So tell everyone about the Big Incubator, exactly what it does for the founders who are a part of it, and then we'd love to hear from Noelle about her experience in being a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it brief because I think hearing from Noelle, someone who's went through it, and not just our program, but just started with an idea, built it, and scaled it, to hear her thoughts on the process is something I want to hear as well. Mm-hmm. And really big is a 26-week program. You come in, the first step is to apply. And I want to encourage people to apply. Do not self-select yourself out. It is free to apply.
And you can apply at DigitalUndivided.com, right?
You can do it at DigitalUndivided.com. You can go to our Facebook page. which is Digital Undivided. You can go to our Twitter account, Digital Undivided. There's many different ways in which you can apply. And so you go through the application. If accepted, you're invited to our Start Weekend, which is a weekend-long session in which you basically use the Business Model Canvas, which is a tool to help you get started in your business, to think through your business. And the experience is you come out, whether you're invited to Start or whether you're invited to Big or not, that Start Weekend is very impactful. And we heard from people who weren't invited to continue on the Start because we can only accept 20 people weren't invited to continue on to Big because we can only accept 20 people into the full program, that even just coming to Start that first weekend was really powerful for them. And then from there, 20 of the founders are selected to go into the Big Incubator program. It's 3 modules: customer discovery, where you learn all about customers, and Noelle can tell you it's pretty intense.
Yes, I can.
Product development, where you take your idea, all you learn from customer discovery, and turn it into an actual product. And then the last module is company development, which is about pitching. It's about setting up your QuickBooks and your financial modeling and all the other stuff. And then it ends with a demo day. And I would encourage anyone who's thinking about applying to watch our demo day video to really understand what it is that we do. It's so incredible. Just to see the end results in the process and the hard work that the founders put in. It's pretty amazing.
And what is the time period for the program again? Did you mention that? How long is it from the application process to demo day?
So from the application to demo day, the applications are open now. They're going to end January 19th. So there's about a week left.
So don't play yourself, folks. Go apply right now.
You're right. Like, go apply now. Like, don't hesitate.
Like right now.
Don't think about it. Like, don't overthink this, please. So applications are going on now. They end January 19th. So apply now. Don't hesitate. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about, am I good enough or my idea is good enough? Don't even think about it. Just do it. Like, as I say to people, pretend like you're a white guy. Just do it.
Right. Exactly. That's right.
Our Start program starts February 2nd. The Big Incubator itself starts March 2nd. And it goes from March to our demo day in December 6th. And the reason why our program is so long is, A, you can work while you're doing it, which we think is really important. And B, as Noelle will tell you, you will change your idea. And we want to give you space to change and refine your idea. And if you only have 3 months, that's not enough time for you to change, refine your idea, build it, test it, do all the things that you need to do. And we want to give you as much space and time to be able to do it.
Excellent. Now, Noelle Adams, as Kathryn mentioned, we're part of the Big Incubator, and you have your app, the Culpability App, right?
Yes, we are still in development, but we are well on our way.
And people can find out about it at culpabilityapp.com.
Yes, they could go there, or they can go to myculpability.com.
myculpability.com. All right. So tell us, what has the experience been like for you? Well, first, let's go back a little bit. When did you first find out about the Big Incubator, and what made you, as Kathryn said, we have to think like a white guy. What made you say, yeah, I'm going to apply for this?
Well, interestingly enough, so I had this idea, and I thought it was a pretty awesome idea. I thought it was something that could make a difference in our community. And I initially applied for an MIT leadership boot camp. And I got all the way through their application process and made it to the final round, and I was waitlisted. So at first it had me feeling like, a little disappointed, but it dawned on me. I was like, wow, this is MIT. I'm not a techie person. That's not necessarily my background is in coding. So I think I might have a good idea. So I started doing additional research, and I discovered there were some classes available at Georgia Tech through ATDC. So I started taking some classes and trying to learn more about the process. But what I discovered immediately was, okay, I'm looking like I look, which is not that white techie guy with the khakis that's been in that field since 14 with a best friend who's also in technology. And I'm in front of individuals that don't understand some of the challenges that are often in our community. And one of the things I learned in my background of learning and development and organizational management was sometimes you need to recognize when you're not you don't have the right audience. So I started doing some additional looking around. And one day I saw on my Facebook timeline this advertisement about the Big Incubator and Digital Undivided. And I saw that it was technology. And more importantly, I saw brown women in this advertisement around technology. So I started doing additional research, and I discovered that not only were these Black women in technology promoting other brown women to get into technology or entrepreneurship, period, but they were in Atlanta, and that's where I was. So I applied, and thank God I got in. And I'll tell you, for me, it was an idea. I had done some additional research prior to that. I'd even reached out to some developers and was paying money for developers to develop this mobile application. But I discovered in going through this process that there's a best practice at how to approach launching a company or even doing the legwork from customer discovery, as Kathryn mentioned. I was able to be in a safe environment with knowledgeable and supportive people who had the experience and who were encouraging me the entire way. And that gave me the confidence that I think I needed to be able to get where I am now.
One of the things that I heard you mention earlier was that you didn't feel like maybe at the time, you might feel differently now, but that you were necessarily quote unquote techie or someone who is a developer or coder and that kind of thing. So I think it's interesting that you still, well, one, it's great you had this idea, but also that you still applied to the incubator, even though that wasn't necessarily your background. Did I hear that correctly?
You did. Now, I had experience with running other people's businesses. And as I shared with you before, I had experience in learning and developing curriculum and those types of things. And I knew to a certain degree those skills were transferable when it comes to other businesses. But what I wasn't sure about, and that comes with the doubt that Black women often have. We feel like we need to have 500 things on our list of capabilities in comparison to that white guy who doesn't have any.
I say that all the time. Women overall, I say we are so afraid of, we worry about the knowledge gap, whereas men don't worry about that. They think, I'll get in there and I'll figure it out. Whereas as you said, we have to have 500 things or more, and we still think, maybe I'm ready. So I love that you mentioned that.
Yes. And the very first time I met Kathryn, I just knew immediately she was going to push me and help me understand that I was enough, that the things that I brought to the table was enough. And that's one of the most important things that Big does for you. They help remind you, or not even remind you, because some of us don't even come in the door recognizing that we are enough, but they make you feel like you are enough.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say if you were speaking to someone? Well, you're speaking to tens of thousands of people, but what would you say, though, to women who right now are listening and they're thinking about going to Digital Undivided and applying to the Big Incubator, but they're having those doubts of, I'm not enough, or as you mentioned earlier and we talked about, I don't have enough experience, or those kinds of things. What would you say to help them make that move to go ahead and apply?
I would probably say, and I think everybody has heard this before, but nothing beats a failure but a try.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have absolutely nothing to lose. So why not go big? Just go big.
Go
Don't
big.
go home. Go big.
I love it, Noelle. Go big. That's right. Now, what would you say if you could choose one thing, because there's many, I'm sure, that has been the most supportive to you in developing, being part of the Big Incubator and developing Culpability App while you were there? What has been the most helpful or supportive to you?
I would probably say the exposure and the relationships. It's and I can't even say it's one, it's several things, but definitely the exposure and the relationships. And I became open really fast. Sometimes people come in with an idea and they are steadfast on that idea. And I came in open and willing to make that pivot because I wanted to have the best idea and ultimately the best business. And I think to be able to get to that point, you really do have to be open. You have to allow the data that you get from the research and the customer discovery lead you in the right direction so you can then have the absolute best business.
Now, tell us what Culpability App does exactly for people who use it and who will check it out at culpabilityapp.com, or you said myculpability.com, right?
Yes.
Myculpability.com. Okay.
.com. Yes. So what Culpability is, it's a mobile application and platform, and it will capture and store real-time, text, voice, video, and photo images. And I call them in non-emergency incidents. So communities can feel safer, create accountability and transparency, ultimately causing a real conversation with law enforcement and within the community and ultimately within corporations. So I'll give you an example. We always hear about those horrific events that take place. Mm-hmm. Like we hear about that unarmed, innocent young black male that's been gunned down by a law enforcement officer. What we don't know is usually there would have been incidents that took place before that law enforcement officer got comfortable enough to take the life of that unarmed person. So there could have been bullying along the way, intimidation along the way, harassment along the way. All of those non-emergency events take place. With Culpability, people will be able to capture those incidents and share them with us. We will store them using blockchain technology, ensuring that they don't get compromised. And then we will share that data with our customers, who will ultimately are law enforcement, civic organizations like ACLU, Black Lives Matter. All of those organizations could benefit from the data. So in turn, we can begin to be more proactive as opposed to reactive to those situations take place. And it's not, culpability isn't a us versus them situation. We want to make everybody safe. We want to make the community safe, and we want to make law enforcement safe. So in the situations where you may have gang violence in a particular area, well, before that individual gets comfortable enough to take someone's life, those same incidents took place. There's been harassment, there's been bullying, there's been intimidation. We want our community to capture that, share that with us, and we will make sure that that data gets shared. One of the things that I've learned through this process, all across the United States, police unions, they have made arrangements so those police officers that may have had complaints on them, after a period of time, those records get completely erased. So when you go in because you have an issue with a police officer today, maybe a year from now, that record no longer exists. So when that horrific incident takes place and someone wants to see the record of a particular police officer, those things don't exist. So how can we begin to hold them accountable for that? Culpability will help ensure accountability exists.
And the information is stored and then the public can access it, or law enforcement can access it, or how do people... Sorry?
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly what will take place. We will have, our goal will be for our customer, which will be some of the groups that I mentioned before. They will have access to that data. They are then in a position to meet with the local members of their law enforcement communities or members within the business community or school communities and talk about that data that we will be in a position to share.
Now, when you came up with this idea, was it inspired by just what you were witnessing and what was going on in the world, as we've talked about, or what was it that really inspired you to create this and then take it to the Big Incubator?
Well, my motivation came out of, so over 20,000 people are wrongfully convicted every year. And my brother was one of those individuals who was wrongfully convicted. And he spent 11 years and 11 months in prison. And based on a lot of the evidence that came out, even after his conviction, one of the most poignant pieces of evidence was a police officer cut off her video and audio. And so from that and him being convicted, after being angry and getting, because you go through a whole lot of emotions. It's not just that one individual gets convicted and in prison. The whole family feels the pain. And through that pain, I got to a place where I was praying. I was like, okay, Lord, something good needs to come out of this. And once I was able to find a place to be still, ideas started coming to me. And out of that lemon, I made lemonade.
And now, was your brother exonerated, or was he just released after serving the time for the wrongful conviction?
Yes, he wasn't exonerated. He was released, and he's still on probation, but he will be off of probation this March.
Wow. I'm sorry that happened to him.
Thank you.
And to your family, to your point, and to your family as well. So what would you say that the Big Incubator, or in what ways would you say that it took your app, the Culpability App, from idea and the early stages that you were in to where it is now? What would you say that process was like?
It was definitely, it was work. You know, I don't want to mislead anybody, but it was work well worth it. One, I quickly realized I needed to not waste any more money going down the street that I was going, because I was headed the wrong direction.
This is with the developers and
yes, with the developers, with the idea, the fact that I hadn't done enough customer discovery. Kathryn and the DigitalUndivided team kind of helped me hone into what the best solution could look like, and it really just kind of directed me and got me on a better path, a easier path, a more effective path. And now I have a chief technology officer that's my lead developer, and we are actively working on the build out of an app of which we will be able to beta test. Through the process, I was able to create an MVP, that's a minimal viable product, and we were able to test that to see that it was working. So a lot of the terminology that you hear me speaking about, a year ago, I wouldn't have been as comfortable to be able to sit down and have this conversation with you. Those are some of the things that you get exposed to and you learn about through the process.
Awesome. That's awesome. And Kathryn, I know one of the things you mentioned earlier, too, was that for women listening who are thinking about this, you don't have to quit your job to be a part of the incubator. Is that right? You can build this and still take part in the incubator. You can, have your work or whatever you're currently doing, but still take part in the incubator.
Yes. I think that's really important because you don't know particularly at the stage in which we accept people, you don't know whether or not your company is actually a company. You don't know if your idea is a business yet. And until you know that it's a business, until you know that it's going to generate revenue for you to feed yourself and your family, then you should not quit your job. Now, here's the caveat, though, because it's a lot of work. That means that by keeping your job, other things will probably have to go. I mean, I'm sure, as Noelle will tell you, there will be Saturdays, there will be family dinners. We have one founder who usually hosts Thanksgiving dinner at her house, and she cooks everything. And she said to her family, look, we're going to do potluck this year.
Right.
Because I'm building a company and I can't cook everything. So you guys are going to have to help me. So there are balances for that because it does take time. But we don't think you should have to quit. And we wouldn't encourage you to, unless we knew for sure that you were on this trajectory where you were going to get real investment and that you really had something, that you knew it, that we knew it, and that it was investable enough that someone was going to write you a sizable check so that you can grow your company.
Would you say that the goal, speaking about investment, would you say the goal for you with the participants in the incubator program is to obviously help them develop their ideas into full companies, but also to help them get funding because so few Black and brown founders who are women get funding?
Well, it's so interesting. We actually, it isn't. And let me explain why. We want you to never have to take funding from someone because as soon as you take funding, that investor is your boss. And there are certain rules to that relationship. And you do not get to have 100% say in your business because you don't own 100% of your business once you take investment. Really important to understand that. So what we do want is we want you to get all the things you need in order for your company to grow. And if your company is moving at a fast pace, sometimes that is investment, but it might not be investment. It might be that you need a CTO. Mm-hmm. It might be that you need to expand your network so you have more possibility for customers. And that may not be necessarily the same as needing money. And I think that's a really important thing to understand. And it's going to be really important as more women of color build companies and organizations to understand the role that investment actually plays in your company. Investment is fuel. It's not the starter. It's the fuel.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I'm glad I asked that. That's a great distinction and important, as you said, for us all to think about what exactly taking money as investment means for you and your business.
Yeah.
So what would you say then for our listeners who we want to go to DigitalUndivided.com? Again, don't play yourself. Apply now if you're thinking about this. What would you say to them or to any of them who are interested in applying that you look for in a great participant in the program?
So who we look for, and it's really important. We look for people who have hustle, people who have ideas, people who can make it happen. I remember seeing Noelle at Start, which is way at the beginning, right? This is where you kind of make it or break it, whether you accepted the program or not. And she told the story of her brother. And she told it so passionately. And then she connected it clearly to what she wanted to do. So it wasn't just like, this happened to my brother and now I don't know what to do. It was like, this happened to my brother. And as a result, I was motivated to create this app so that it doesn't happen to anyone else ever again. And that was really powerful for us. I remember the whole team talking about how powerful it was. We just fell in love with Noelle. And if you ever get the honor to meet Noelle in person, you will fall in love with her as well. But it was just like, wow, this woman can do this. And yeah, she needs some help, the structural stuff, some training. That's all the stuff that we can help with. But the stuff that we can't help is the motivation, the spirit to drive, the hustle. That's not something we can teach. And Noelle had that. And that's what we're looking for. Is like, do you have the hustle? Can you make it happen? Will you find a way? Will you be here on Saturdays when taking a wireframing class? Will you come to office hours and work with us and ask questions until you finally get it? Are you that person? Like, how bad do you want it? And that's really what we're looking for. We don't care where you went to school. We don't care if you went to Ivy League school or not. We don't even care if you actually went to school or not. That's irrelevant to us. We don't care if you've built a startup before. Sometimes that's helpful to see, at least you know kind of what's going on, but we don't really care about that. We don't care if you have money or not. We don't care if you have investment or not. We actually prefer for you not to. It's this hustle. It's this hustle, this drive, this sort of force behind you, and you can feel it. You can feel it, the people who have that. And since this is our third cohort, because we're not new at this, we really have gotten quite good at figuring out who has that, and really helping and giving them the tools to move forward.
And again, you said the deadline for this year, 2018, is on what date do people need to apply by?
It's January 19th. The application is super short. You don't need to upload anything. You don't need a video. You don't need any. It is so short, and it's just questions about you. And questions that you already know, that you don't need to look up or get answers to or anything. Just be yourself. It is really that simple. It really is that easy.
Excellent. That's why I tell people about podcasts. It's questions you know the answer to. So don't pretend that that's a barrier for entry. You know the answers. They want to get to know you. You go to the event and meet Kathryn and the team. And Kathryn, before you guys go, I wanted to ask you, what does the support look like, or what does the support team look like for the applicants who are, or the people who are participating in the incubator?
I'm really excited because we've expanded our staff quite a bit. And we have more that we're expanding this year as well. So, there's myself, and I don't run the program. I tell people it's ran by an incredibly capable and brilliant woman named Kathleen Curry. Kathleen, who has years of experience as a VC, years of experience actually running companies, and running and building startups. And also served as a catalyst at ATDC, which is the local Atlanta sort of tech incubator, taught at Georgia Tech's business school. And she's the head of our program. We also have a program coordinator, Blanca Garcia, who just started with us. She is building out our Confident Founders program. And that's all about the spiritual and emotional and mental health, because we know that entrepreneurship is really, really hard. And taking care of that other part of ourselves is as important as building the company.
Right.
It's actually maybe even more important, because it's what gets you through those really hard times. And so, and she's built a number of programs. She's an artist by trade. She comes to us from the University of Wisconsin. We also have Essence Lofton, who is our new program coordinator. She's the person that everyone kind of talks to. And before it was my assistant, Sheila, who's also still with us. But Essence, we're really excited because she's just dedicated. Darlene Gillard, who's our director of special events, and runs a lot of our events. She sort of spearheads it and oversees it. And people would say probably is really kind of the soul of Digital Undivided. Everyone loves Darlene.
She's hilarious. Darlene.
And yeah.
Me too.
One of my dearest friends, the godmother of my son, one of my dearest friends. And we have Danielle Robinson Bell, who's our interim director of communications. And she's come in and really whipped us in shape. We just had our staff off-site for 2 days, and she got us together. She snatched all of our edges.
She got you all together.
All of our edges are nicely laid right now. And we needed it. We needed someone to come in and lay it. And then we have some other people that we're hiring. We have 2 more fellows. One of our fellows, Mario Romero, who we absolutely love and adored, just left to be the country director for the Carter Center in Chad.
Wow.
So we're not hating. We're hating that he left, but we're not hating.
But you love what he's doing.
He's awesome.
Yes. He's still involved, and he's like, can you pipe me in to start? And we're like, you're in Chad, dude. You'll be all right. Mm-hmm. So we really have this community we have an incredible board led by Tobias Wright, who is an engineer at Microsoft and leads a lot of startup work for Microsoft in Southeast, who also happens to be on Noelle's board. He's on her board of advisors.
Yes, he is.
And we have Alex Miller from Stack Overflow, who's a new board member coming on. Sheila Hurling from the Case Foundation. That's Steve and Gene Cases, the founders of AOL. Their foundation are huge supporters of ours. And Vanessa Cooksey, who is head of philanthropy for Wells Fargo, and is a Black woman who's very committed to Black and Latina women in entrepreneurship. So we have a pretty badass team.
Pretty badass.
Deep. Our bench is deep. We real deep.
Right.
Real deep. But that's really important because it's one of the things I think that sets us apart is that we really know what we're talking about. And we know it because we've been through it. And we've been there. And this is not new for us. And so we really can give you some advice and guidance that would be difficult to know if you haven't actually built something before. And I think that's what really makes us successful. And everyone gives something. I was on another podcast with another one of our founders, and she made a really excellent point. She's like, everybody on the staff does something and gives something. And it's true.
Yes.
Everyone teaches one of the modules, like a course in the module. And Noelle would be like, literally everyone does. But the bench is deep. Everyone has something to contribute.
That's right. I love it. Well, Kathryn and Noelle, thank you so much. I'm so excited about Big. I've always been a supporter, whether you know it or not. I don't know if you know this. You should. Kathryn, always been a supporter of you and what you're doing and what you're creating. It's fantastic. And I love that I'm all about it, empowering women. And Noelle, the fact that I'm glad you shared the part of your story with what really inspired you to create the Culpability App and just bringing our story and things that happen to us and our experiences into the work and things that we want to create is so important. So I'm so proud of both of you and glad that you came here to share about the Big Incubator with Support is Sexy.
Thank you so much.
Apply.
I appreciate you having me. Yes, apply. Don't be afraid.
Apply.
Don't think, just apply.
Exactly.
Just apply.
Digital,
go big.
Go big. I love that.
Go big.
Go big. DigitalUndivided.com. Of course, I'll have a link to it, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned it. So anybody having any moments in between, you keep hearing it, there's no excuse. Now, none. Kathryn, now before you both go, what would you say is a parting piece of advice from you to all the women listening who are in tech or thinking about getting into the technology space, who are thinking about launching their startups, launching their businesses, who have a big idea? What would you say would be your parting piece of advice to them?
Do it. Don't think.
Don't think.
If you stop thinking, you're going to think yourself out of it. Just do it.
Do it. Excellent. Kathryn and Noelle, thank you so much. Hold on just a second. All right. I hope you were inspired by that conversation with Kathryn and Noelle. If you are a woman who is a technology founder or you're thinking about getting in the space, I want you to go now to DigitalUndivided.com so you can apply for the Big Incubator. If you're listening to this before January 19th, then you still have time. So go to DigitalUndivided.com. If we didn't mention it enough times, do it now. Do not hesitate. As Kathryn said, don't overthink it. DigitalUndivided.com. Now, for the rest of you, if you want to find out more about Kathryn, about Digital Undivided, to listen to her previous episode on the Support is Sexy podcast, and to find out about Noelle and more about the fantastic Culpability App, go to supportissexypodcast.com and just search Kathryn, Kathryn. Her show notes page will show up with all of the links, the resources, the way to get in touch with her, the way to find out more about Noelle, and to find out even more about Digital Undivided. supportissexypodcast.com. All right. So thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for being here. Maybe you've been here since episode 77. Maybe you're new and 390 is your first episode. Either way, I appreciate you. As I always say, it would not be the same without you. So until we chat again, I want you to remember you deserve support. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.